What's up? It's Ben from WODprep, and in this video, I'm going to be going over what I'm calling the ultimate guide to handstand walks. I'm going to be covering 9 drills, starting from the easiest to the hardest, that's going to help you develop handstand walks. We're going to move through a progression over the course of this video, and at some point you might get stuck, but that's okay. With practice, you will eventually learn handstand walks, because these are the same drills that I used to learn how to do handstand walks, and now it's one of my absolute favorite and best movements. The thing that we need to start with is the introductory prerequisites to say, are you ready to do handstand walks? Because I believe a lot of people try to do handstand walks and they're just not ready for them. So there's a few things that I want you to practice, that I want you to understand, and I want you to check off to make sure that you can do them in order to be prepared to do handstand walks. So the first thing that we obviously need to be comfortable with is, can you kick up into a handstand on the wall? Fairly simple, right? But if you have troubles doing this, then you're not ready for handstand walks, and that's okay, because we have other videos to help you out. But if you can kick up against the wall comfortably and easily, and then I'd say you need to be able to support yourself in this position for, let's say, 30 to 60 seconds. If you can support yourself in this position for an extended period of time, check. That's a good sign. That means you might be ready to handstand walk. I also want you to practice the same thing facing the wall. Can you do wall walks effectively? Okay, so that's a prerequisite. And then when you get to this position, are you able to hold yourself close to the wall, maybe nose touching the wall, and nose and toes, and can you support yourself in this position for at least 30 seconds. If you can't do that for at least 30 seconds, then chances are you're not quite ready to actually kick upside down and start walking in your hands with any sort of control. So make sure you can do both wall facing and facing away handstand holds pretty easily. I'm not saying they're going to be comfortable, but you should be able to hold it no problem for 30 plus seconds each side. The next one kind of goes without saying, you should be able to do handstand push-ups. Now, I will say, I know a lot of people who can do handstand walks, but they can't do strict handstand push-ups. So if you can't do strict handstand push-ups, that's okay. It's obviously preferred. But if you can do RX kipping handstand push-ups, that is a good sign. You should be able to do multiples of those. If you don't have the shoulder strength to at least do a few kipping handstand push-ups, then I would say you might not be ready to actually do handstand walks. And then the last thing, this is kind of like an unusual prerequisite, but it's one that I came up with that I really like. I want you to be able to support about 25, maybe 33%, so a quarter to a third of your body weight at least, overhead in a good locked out position. So I have a 70-pound kettlebell that's well over 33% of my body weight. I get it to my shoulder and press overhead. I can hold this position. I'm stacked, my core's tight, I'm not overextending. I could walk around and hold this. I wouldn't want to do it very long, but you can see I can hold it comfortably. If you can't support this weight overhead, maybe you can, but you're like bending your elbows or you're having to like really overextend your core, then you might not be ready for handstand walks, because handstand walks, you want to be pretty stacked. You don't want to be forced into a crazy overextended position. Even though a lot of my handstand walks, a lot of the more competitive athletes, when they're doing handstand walks, they are overextended. They're not perfect pencil sticks gymnasts doing handstand walks, but we need to be able to prove that I can support a lot of my weight, maybe a third of my body weight overhead, locked out and braced. If you can't do that, then either your mobility is lacking or your strength is lacking, your stability is lacking, and it might not be a good idea to practice handstand walks. So if you can't do those things, then these are the things you need to practice. I want you to practice supporting weight overhead. Take that kettlebell, press it overhead, walk around with it until you get to a heavier weight. I want you to accumulate time under tension on the wall. Can you build up to over 30 seconds of good, strong positioning with good support, not overextended, okay? Just like I demonstrated. You might have realized earlier I talked about a lot of the prerequisites for handstand walks involve supporting weight overhead. Basically, can we hold ourselves? But now we need to actually practice shifting weight from one hand to the next. That's because if I show you a quick demo of the handstand walk, you'll notice that when I'm walking on my hands, my weight shifts from hand to hand. Like when I'm walking, right, if you freeze frame me walking, at one point, I have a foot off the ground, which means all of my weight is supported on one leg. And a lot of people might not realize that, but when I walk, one leg, one leg, one leg. The same thing applies when I'm doing handstand walks. You have to learn how to support your weight in one hand. So when I do this handstand walk, you'll see when I walk, I'm actively picking up my hand and I'm supporting it with one. So I pick up one hand, which means I have a majority of my weight on the hand that's still on the ground. In order to get good at handstand walks, we have to practice that. So here's a drill, and we're going to practice other drills in the future, but this is the first and easiest drill that I want us to practice. This is called around the world on a box. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to get on the box in a pike position, get as vertical as I can with my torso, legs straight, or as straight as you can get them. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to practice shifting weight around the box, and I'll go all the way around the box, okay? And then you want to practice going the other direction. I'll go all the way around the box. I'm just demonstrating a quarter of it, but you want to think about going all the way around the box. And what we're practicing here is shifting weight into one hand. And yes, I'm going sideways, and that doesn't necessarily apply to handstand walking, but I'm learning to shift weight from one hand to the next in that vertical position, upside down. That is a huge key that we need to work on and we need to practice. So try it with your box, try it with whatever. I mean, you can just put your feet on anything and practice walking around the world. That is a tough drill. I'm out of breath. You'll also work on breathing upside down because you'll have to breathe. It is a great drill to practice that hand transition. The next drill that I want to talk about is simply a mini kick up. Okay, so we'll put the box to the side. All I want you to do, in addition to that, is just practice getting upside down with no support. Don't flip all the way over. We're not going all the way up to a full handstand. But all I want you to practice is with no support, can you get both feet off the ground? Just a mini kick up. I'm not going all the way into the support. I'm not trying to walk yet. I'm just practicing the transition with my arms straight, on the ground, kick up. Okay, we just want to practice that. For some of you, it might look like this. Okay, that's okay. It's not as good as we want. We want to try to get higher, but we're just practicing kicking up, getting our feet together. That's it. Those are mini kick-ups. And next up, we have drill number 3, which is balance point practice. And I know in the prerequisite video, I talked about kicking up and being able to support yourself in the wall. Now, we're going to kick up slightly farther away, and I just want you to feel that balance point and allow yourself to fall slightly past it and then be protected by the wall. So if I normally do a handstand push-up here, okay, that's like my balance point, right? I want you to move your hands back maybe a foot or 30 centimeters, and I'm going to kick up and I'm going to go past. So I want you to kick up, feel the handstand, and go a little bit past it. What we're doing is we're trying to teach you to find the balance point and then just go a little bit beyond it, because that is how we start our handstand walk. Next up, we have drill number 4, which is a freestanding handstand hold practice. We don't have to be very good, but we're going to practice it. But imagine I have like a 4 foot by 4 foot square or a 6 foot by 6 foot square. What I want you to practice today is we're taking that mini kick up a little bit higher. I want you to try to find your balance point and not go past it, but still try to stay balanced overhead. It might look like this. Just kicking up. Oh, not quite. Kicking up. Oh, there it is. And I just want you to kind of be able to move your hands a little bit and see if you can find a balance point. And I'm trying not to move. Even though I'm moving a lot, I'm trying not to move. Okay? I don't expect you to go that long, but I do want you to practice getting up, find that spot where you're finding that balance point, and do your best to hold that without moving as long as possible. If your hands shift around a little, that's okay, but we're just trying to stay inside a box. What that means is I don't want you walking out of it, okay? But if you did, congrats, you just handstand walked. I also don't want you kicking up and just falling down right away like those mini kick-ups. I want you to kick up, try to find that balance point, and I would suggest, if you're doing that, maybe have a spotter. Maybe have a friend who's next to you, and when you kick up, they can kind of catch your legs and just sort of sit there and support you and hold your legs in that vertical position. And play around with being upside down and find that balance point. You'll notice when you do it, you're gonna be pressing your fingers into the ground. They're gonna be going back and forth to try to find that tipping point, that balance point. Just play around upside down and get comfortable being a little bit uncomfortable upside down in that balance point. You saw how uncomfortable I was. If I really wanted to practice my handstand hold, I would have a friend come in and hold me until I really thought I was locked in. I'd be like, all right, and I'd tell him to let go and see how long I could just hold that perfect handstand. The next drill that I want to work on today involves actually moving our hand and shifting our weight. We worked on that with the around the world drill in the box earlier. Now we're going to practice getting on the wall and doing what I call shoulder taps or wall runs. I make up names for them all the time, but I guess shoulder taps are what they're called. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a wall walk. So I'm facing away from the wall. We're going to do a wall walk up the wall. And then when we get close, all I want you to do is practice shifting weight from one hand to the next. And then eventually, I want you to lift your hand and touch your shoulder. So all I'm doing is I'm practicing shifting weight from one hand to the next. Now, it's very important. Did you see how fluid that was? It was like I was walking. 1, 2, 3. I was shifting weight. Right, left, right, left. What I wasn't doing is right, left. Okay? I'm fluidly transferring from left to right, from left to right. Do not get up there and go and put your hand back down. And put your hand back down. You have to go right and left and right. Try to, a lot of people will have to do the up down, okay? If you can't actually get your hands to your shoulders, that's why I just want you to lift your hands a little bit. But we have to see a fluid motion from left to right. I want to see a fluid motion. What I don't want to see is this. That's not good. I'd rather you do smaller lifts with your hand. Your butt is kind of swaying back and forth. That is what I want. And ideally, when you become more comfortable with it, that's when we're actually lifting and touching our shoulder. Okay, time for drill number 6, and that is walking into the wall. If you normally kick up into the wall with your hands about here, so here, if I put my hands here and kick up to the wall, that's about my balance point. In the previous lesson, we talked about moving our hands back and going past our balance point. Now, I want you to keep bumping your hands out. We're going to keep bumping our hands out so that in order to get our feet on the wall, we have to actually move our hands. I want you to start small and slowly build up. So you saw what I did there. I had my hands close to the wall at the balance point. I moved them back a little bit. I had to go past the balance point to get my feet on the wall, but I didn't have to move my hands. Then I moved my hands back a little bit farther, and what did I need to do? In order to get my feet to the wall, I actually had to shift my hands a little bit. What we're doing is I want you to go as far as you feel comfortable walking into the wall. So level 1 might literally be just one step, okay? But that's still pretty good. Level 2, maybe it's a couple steps. And then eventually, ideally, the best progression for this is I'm pretty far from it, and I have to take 2 or 3 steps, maybe 4 steps to get to the wall. This is an infinitely scalable movement. Slowly but surely work your way back. Hit several reps at each stage to really get comfortable with it. But the goal here is we kick up, find my balance point, go slightly past it, and I actually have to do a couple steps into the wall. And if you can do that, congratulations. You've actually just done a handstand walk. Even if it's a little bit, and even if you have the safety net of the wall, it's still a handstand walk, and you still got a couple feet. So, bravo. I want you to slowly add to it as you feel comfortable. You might not be comfortable going beyond just one step right now, and that's fine. But as we get more comfortable, you're going to extend that out, and eventually you'll be able to actually truly walk several steps into the wall. Okay, so the goal is we find that balance point, we go slightly past it, and we know that as long as I'm moving forward with my hands and I fall, I'm going to hit that wall and I'm going to be okay. This is your safety net. Moving on to drill number 7, we're taking the shoulder taps up a notch and we're doing hip taps. We're taking that one step farther. Maybe do a couple practice hand lifts and then shoulder taps And now today, practicing hip taps. I'm reaching all the way up to touch my hip. Wow, way more advanced because I'm moving that hand so much farther. What it's doing is it's really emphasizing the balance and control and the shifting of body weight that we need to have to do a true handstand walk. So it's an exaggerated drill where I'm actually reaching up, I'm touching my hip, and because of that, I'm spending more time and I'm shifting my weight even more to have all my weight in one hand. It's a tough drill, but if you build into it, if you go slow, if you do the hand shifts, then the shoulder taps, and then when you're comfortable, reach all the way to the hip. And when you do that, we're adding to that complexity, we're adding to that ability to be able to support our weight in one smooth, fluid motion. Remember, I mentioned it in a previous lesson, remember, I don't want to see you go hip splat, pause, hip splat, pause. Don't do that. It has to be smooth. It needs to be hip, 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 nice and smooth and controlled, because that's just like when we handstand walk. It's just like when we walk. Left, right on our hands. We have to go left, right with our hips. Okay. Drill number 8 is my absolute favorite, and that is the PVC Spotter Drill. All that you need is a PVC pipe and a spotter. So I want you to imagine that I'm kicking up into a handstand. I know we have other videos to go with it. All we're doing is a spotter is holding their arms out, braced, okay? I'm not like here. I'm holding my arms out in a braced position. The athlete kicks up. I want to make sure that this PVC pipe hits around the calf muscle. So they kick up into the handstand walk, and I'm here preventing that athlete from going too far beyond their tipping point. When the athlete kicks up, their feet hit the PVC pipe. Eventually, I want that spotter to start walking away slowly. It has to be slow. And it's going to take you several attempts. It's going to take you several tries. There's going to be a lot of times where you kick up, bounce right back down. You need to find that sweet spot. But that spotter should be just beyond your tipping point. You kick up to the tipping point, and then once those calves hit the PVC pipe, the spotter just slowly walks away to try to match your pace with your hands. The goal is that the spotter stays, like imagine this is my leg. The spotter stays just a little bit away from the legs, and if I go too far, I always have this safety net to bounce off of, okay? So the spotter is braced, you kick up, you touch, they should be talking to you, communicating with you, saying, hey, I'm here, I got you. Their job as a spotter is to make sure you do not go past your tipping point and fall over your head. Their job is, if you start doing that, to push you back down so that you fall in the safe way, the way where you come back down on the right side, not the wrong side. It is also their job for you not to kick them in the face, because if they're here and you kick up, you're probably going to kick them in the face. You have to make sure that PVC pipe is at the right level so that it's hitting them in the calves, and they're slowly moving back to allow you to practice falling, controlled falling, or walking forward with your hands. It's going to take some practice, and it's going to take a good spotter. Your spotter needs to know what the heck they're doing. So it's on you to tell the spotter what to do and exactly what you need in terms of communication. It's a good lesson for relationships. You need to set your expectations, or they are going to let you down. So make sure you set your expectations, tell them what they need to do, and with that, this is a phenomenal drill. This is like one of the final steps to practicing handstand walks with a little bit of support and a little bit of feedback, and then eventually you'll be able to do it without a spotter. So try the PVC drill. The next drill, and this is, I say, the most advanced one. This is, if you don't have any friends, family members, sturdy children, if you're just all alone and maybe have a dog, it's totally fine, happens. It's been me, been parts of my life. And all we need is a wall. And what we're going to do, it's a little bit harder core, it's a little bit more advanced, is we're going to practice handstand walking into the wall. You might remember before we practiced with just a couple steps. Now we're getting more advanced. I would still suggest, maybe as a warm-up, do a couple where we're close. So maybe some of these, find the tipping point. Okay, I'm feeling comfortable. Okay, maybe some of these. Okay, maybe one a little bit farther back. Okay, and then eventually, as you work your way back, it's a true handstand walk into the wall. And it's going to look like this. I'm over a body length away from the wall. I kick up, and I have the wall here to support me. So what that does is it allows you to force yourself to get a certain amount of steps, but not beyond that, because you're going to be running into the wall. And if you happen to tip farther than you want, you need to catch up with your hands, and then that wall is your spotter. That wall is your PVC helper. It's a little bit more dangerous because, yes, in theory, you could kick up away from the wall, go way past your balance point and splat and roll and do all kinds of crazy stuff and look silly. But because you have no one there watching you, you'll be fine. But this is an advanced drill, and it's kind of the final stages. This drill and the PVC drill, final stages of learning handstand walks. And I'm confident that once you accumulate some reps and you get several steps into the wall and you get several steps with that PVC spotter, you will be ready to do unbroken, unsupported handstand walks. So I hope that you liked this video. Be sure to smash the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up button if you liked it. Thumbs down if you didn't, it's okay. Before you go, I have something I'd love to share with you, and that is this video in a much more digestible format. So we have the ultimate guide to handstand walk, and you can enter your name and email. Just go to WODprep.com/HSW, enter your name and email, and then you'll have this video series where I break down each drill in a little bit more detail. You'll have this progression saved because I'm going to email it to you over the next few days. And also, if you go sign up for the Ultimate Guide to Handstand Walking, I'm also going to give you a super special discount on our Handstand Walk Hero course. That is a full 8-week program that we actually guarantee will help you get handstand walk. So if you want to get a huge discount on our handstand walk course, I'll make sure to link the course below. But if you want that discount, you got to go to WODprep.com/HSW, and you can get all of this and more to help you learn handstand walks and get a huge discount on the course. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. If you liked this video, then you're gonna love my next video. Click here to watch more free training from WODprep.